Hi, I'm Tom D. Few years back I observed data center under fire. Service for customer was interrupted. It took several days to extinguish a fire, and definitely this is a scenario that you should be prepared for. What if you have 3 data centers in 3 different places on the globe, but somehow primary and replica shard end up in the same data center that later on get destroyed? It will make your data lost. Time to prepare for that scenario. In this video I'm going to show you how to tell Elasticsearch to keep shards allocated according to your preferences, so you are safe from disaster. Let's start. Imagine that you have 8 nodes spread around the world, and now you want to save document in the index. It is possible that primary shard and replica shard will appear on the same location. Therefore, when you save your data over there, and later on there will be a disaster, let's say data center exploded, your data will be lost. You will lost your document. In order to fix that issue, you need to set up attributes for the cluster, so you group the nodes based on their location, so whenever the replica and primary shard are saved, Elasticsearch will make sure they will not end up in the same location. To feel how it works, first start Elasticsearch without any changes to node attributes. So here, the first node. Notice that the settings for JVM are different. They're not default because somehow there is a problem when you start multiple nodes with that default settings. So therefore I set up here 2 GB. Node name is Europe01, and let's start it. You need to reset the password. Run command to set up your password. Here I'm using one liner for that, it's quicker. Now the token. This is the way to obtain the token. Elasticsearch create an enrollment token for node. Here I'm saving it under the token variable. So if you're using that way, you can later on refer to that variable when you start another nodes. Time for the other nodes. They are starting up right now. Let's go to Postman to see the status. Cat nodes. Okay, let's see. There's Arctica 01, 02, 03, Africa 01, 02, 03, and Europe 01 and 02. So 8 nodes are up and running right now. So let's insert the data. Here is a mapping for customer data. It has 1 shard and 1 replica, so it will be 1 primary shard and 1 replica shard. Now load the data. This is example document. To see if that document is available right now, you can run the search query for that. So document is there. Now, if you check the cat shards API, you can see where exactly these shards were put. Here you can see that there is Africa and Antarctica nodes that hosting these shards. Of course, need to run multiple times this insertion if you want to end up in the situation that both of the shards end up exactly in the Europe location. So I'm not going to do this. Instead, I will move them manually to simulate this issue. So first, Africa 02, I'll move to Europe 02. So Africa 02 moving to Europe 02. Secondly, Arctica 01, move it to Europe 01, for example. Now, if you check again, both of the shards are in the Europe location. And still you can search this data. So now what will happen if there is a disaster and both of the Europe nodes will be killed? Europe. I'll select both and delete them. Delete forever. Done. Now if you search this document, you can see that no shard available action exception, and if you check the shards, they are unassigned. Basically your data is lost this time. Of course, if you can repair the nodes, you can restore the data, but let's imagine there is a fire and the nodes get destroyed. You lose the data this way. Now to fix that issue, I will kill all the containers right now and start them in a different way. First, a node. The difference. Node attribute continent is set as Europe here, and cluster routing allocation awareness attributes is declared as continent. So it will use that value of node attribute continent to decide about routing. Therefore, there will be no situation that both nodes that have this continent attribute set up as Europe will have both shard replica and shard primary started. We set password. Okay, sometimes if it doesn't start yet, you can check it. Okay, now it started. So now it will work. Okay, password set up correctly. Time to obtain the token. And here I'm running all the nodes. And you can see they have Arctica attributes. You can go to API cat nodes, cat node attributes, this API. And when you run it, you can see that there are 8 nodes, and Africa03 has Africa attribute value for continent, Europe 01 and 02 have Europe, and Arctica has its Arctica value. So now there's a right setup. Let's load the document. First, mapping. Mapping is done. Secondly, load the data, load the document. Check if document is there. Document is here, loaded. Now the shards. Arctica and Africa. Okay, let's try to change it to be in Europe. Arctica 03 to Europe. Okay, like this. This is fine. But what if you would try to move next shard, which is replica shard, to the same location, to the Europe? If you do this, there is an error. There are multiple checks. So let's check this no, capital. Okay, there are 2 copies of this shard and 3 values for attribute, continent. Africa, Arctica, Europe, from nodes in the cluster and no forced awareness. So there may be at most 1 copies of this shard allocated to nodes with each value, but including this copy, there would be 2 copies allocated to the nodes with attribute Europe. So Elasticsearch will not allow you to do it manually, neither it will do it itself. Therefore, you are protected from the scenario that both of replica and primary shards are in the same location. So in the case of disaster, you have a backup. And let's do again the same stuff, because one of the shard is in Europe right now. So just for evidence, I will delete it here. So okay, exploded. Europe cluster exploded. So now when you see one replica is unassigned, right? But it doesn't matter, like you can see the data. You can search for customer data, that you have this most important customer data, and you can see that data. Of course, after some time, it will be automatically assigned to other nodes at this replica, and it will work. The cluster will be back green. Thank you for watching this video. I'm sure that you use this functionality in your project. Basically what you did, you make sure that the document that is saved to the Elasticsearch will not end up in the same location in case you have a different location spread around the world. Using these attributes for the nodes, you can make sure that Elasticsearch will distribute the primary and replica shard to the different nodes, and therefore you will avoid disaster.